SASA is an evidence-based community mobilization approach to prevent violence against women. Developed with a combination of theory, practice and relentless optimism, SASA encourages communities around the world to personally and collectively use their power to create safe, violence-free communities for women and girls. Uganda Network on Law Ethics and HIV/AIDS, UGANET, implements SASA in Kasese, Bundibujo and Tororo districts to end violence against women. UGANET trains community leaders and activists about unequal power relations within family settings, which often explode into domestic violence. Scola is one of the activists trained by UGANET. Before she could venture out to intervene in cases of violence, she had to start with her own home.
We were told that change is a process, it is a gradual process, and it begins with you. And I came out of the training with that concept which says change begins with me.
Scola is married to Obed Masereka, a farmer in Chibiria village, Itandiro sub-county in Kasese district, who convinced her to move across the country from Komi, the district of her birth in the east of Uganda, to settle with him on the land in Kasese district, eastern Uganda, so that they could build a family together. They have been married for 13 years.
I have a coffee farm. I also do in dairy. I have a dairy cow that gives us milk on a daily basis. I also have a piggery project. So those are some of the enterprises that help us to sustain our family. We as activists work upon, our target.
As a community activist trained in SASA to help end violence against women in her community, she decided that before she could embark on her new role after the training, she needed to change the violence she was experiencing in her own life.
Before the training, I told you that I had experienced violence, and yet I didn't know that I was violated. In the first instance, I faced economic violence, whereby my husband could not allow to share the resources we had. For instance, we have a coffee plantation, and whenever the coffee could get ripe, I was to pick that coffee, and after picking that coffee, he could just take it. I didn't know where he could take it. I didn't know how much he would harvest from the coffee, and life continued with that because I knew I was a woman, I had nothing to do.
The resentment from economic violence was affecting her intimacy, leading to sexual violence.
I also experienced sexual violence. In the house, it was in the bedroom, things were not easy. Things were really terrible, to an extent that we separated the beds.
Obed Masereka concurs that their marriage was on the rocks until his wife started attending the training on SASA.
In the past, before UGANET came in, we experienced some challenges in our family. Most of the things that we are doing, especially when it comes to sexual relationship, it was not all good. There was also some challenges like some of the community members, they are saying maybe I married from far, from very far, and they are saying it was not good for them, for me to go and get a woman from very far. But to myself, I thought I married a woman of my choice and whom I knew that this person is going to help us to build a good family.
Due to constant taunting by community members, Masereka even got involved in other relationships and withdrew financial support from his wife.
I could just tell her that I've sold my cow, I've sold my pig, but I could not engage her or to participate in what we are going to do with that money. But nowadays, when we get some money, we sit together and plan for that money. There are certain projects that we are now initiating, which I could not do because I could end up misusing the money even when it is in my pocket, and she could not be knowing what could be happening with that money. But nowadays we can sit together and plan to initiate a project, and we see it on the ground.
With training in SASA, Scola found new ways of discussing with her husband about the violence she was facing.
I could get time and sit with my husband and we talk, kind of a dialogue, talking to him about the impact that violence can cause to our family. And from there I realized him also starting changing slowly, because they say change is a gradual process. It is not automatic.
The family is no longer divided, but works together to solve family problems, including deciding and sharing family finances.
When the coffee gets ripe during the season, we all pick the coffee. Sometimes we get people, because sometimes the plantation is big. We cannot manage to pick the coffee, the two of us. So we get the people to help us to pick that coffee, and we sell it. And after selling the coffee, I know where the coffee is sold from, and I know how much is always harvested from the coffee. And I feel important to my husband, and I believe he also feels important to me.
Scola is working to end violence against women in her community using the SASA methodology.
We go to the next.
Okay.